Whether you're a witch, a wizard, a healer, a medium, or a light worker of any sort, the pendulum is our best friend. The pendulum is like a shortcut to our intuition. It can give us answers on topics that we would otherwise have to meditate some time to get. But it's also very important that you understand that you shouldn't give your full power of choice over to the pendulum. And when using the pendulum, we should be very clear in our own state. We should be in a stable mental, energetic, and emotional state before using it. Otherwise, the ego can step in. So let's talk about how to use this humble little thing. First up, if you're using the pendulum to get a yes-no answer, it doesn't matter what's hanging on the end of the chain. Truly, something like an amethyst connects to your third eye and can help you with your intuition. Along with some other crystals like lapis lazuli or labradorite, these are good options too. However, it's not the crystal on the end of the chain that is going to give you the connection or even give you a good connection to the pendulum. It's your intuition, it's your connection to your higher self. In fact, you can use anything for a pendulum. This is a lanyard with the case for my microphone. Look at this. It swings side to side. It works as a pendulum. And because of this, the pendulum is a powerful tool that you can use nearly anywhere at any time with nearly any object. But first things first, we have to learn how to program or calibrate our pendulum. So you go through a short process of asking a few obvious questions, like so. Personally, I'll start holding the chain like so, and then with the same hand hold the pendulum. Then I'll drop it and start the calibration. Give me a yes. The circle means yes. Give me a no. Forwards and backwards means no. Is my name Fox? Answer is yes. Do I live in Mexico? Forwards and backwards is no. Now the reason you have to calibrate this is because it can be backwards sometimes. Your yes might be side to side or forwards and backwards. Your no might be a circle. In fact, even though it can be very consistent for you, from time to time this can change. And in fact, this has happened to me on occasion when the answer has changed halfway through using the pendulum. So in programming your pendulum, you can recognize when this happens. Now I know some of you might be watching this video and you might say,
"He's moving his hands, I can see, he's moving his hands."
So let me just answer this and clear the air. First of all, this is a demonstrational purpose, so I am forcing the pendulum in this video. But secondly, yes, your hand is going to move. Your hand is connected to your physical body. The physical, the emotional, the spiritual body, they're all connected, and we're connecting to our higher self. So yes, micro movements is how the pendulum moves. Alright, now we've got that out of the way, we can carry on. Once you've programmed your pendulum, you have to understand a few important things. First away, don't give your free will away to your pendulum. If it tells you to walk off a cliff, it's probably not a good idea to follow that suggestion. Maybe you have to listen to your mental body. In this case, it could be a bit of a test from the universe to test your rational mind. Secondly, you need to have a clear mind and a clear emotional body when you're asking questions. If you're mentally or emotionally overwhelmed, the ego can take over. And an easy way to find out if the ego is taking over, simply ask the pendulum, is this my ego answering? Trust me, the ego will tell you if it is. And thirdly, you can't predict the future. And this is testing the pendulum. You will not get the lottery numbers. And in asking a question like this and later finding out that the pendulum didn't give you the correct answers, this can break your relationship with the pendulum. I did this when I first started using the pendulum. I picked up the pendulum very quickly, but then I tested it very early on in the part and it took me nearly a year to build the relationship up with it again. So learn from my mistake. Now, if you're new to the pendulum and you want to build up your relationship, or you're building up the relationship after breaking the relationship with the pendulum, I always suggest doing simple things. It might be a bit difficult to contact ancestors or archangels or guides with your pendulum. Instead, work with questions of low consequence. Say, for example, should I have coffee with breakfast? Or should I have tea with breakfast? This is of low consequence. Whether you have tea or coffee isn't going to change your entire life. But it's these small questions that allow you to build up your trust in your relationship bit by bit. But if you ask the question, you have to go with the answer. Because if you're asking your higher self for guidance and you're ignoring it, you are going to break your relationship with the pendulum. So if you don't want the answer of whether you should have pizza or Brussels sprouts for dinner, don't ask the question. Now that we've learned to build our relationship with our pendulum, how can we practically use the pendulum? And this is when it becomes a very practical tool for when it comes to healing, whether you're doing Reiki, sound healing, or in my case, crystal healing. You can check your chakras with your pendulum. Now you're going to want to ask your pendulum, show me the sign for an open chakra. Circle means open. Show me the sign for a blocked chakra. Forwards and backwards. Show me the sign for an overactive chakra. It's going to be a big swing. So let's check our chakras. Between our third eye and our sacral chakra, we have the front and the back. So you should check both. The meaning of the front and the back chakra I'll have to cover in another video. The crown chakra and the root chakra just have the one point. They don't have the front and the back. And finally, you have your Earth Star chakra. Now, this isn't one of the 7 main chakras. However, any healer will always include this in a healing session. The Earth chakra is located 10 centimeters below the feet and is your connection to Mother Earth. Again, I'll go into the meaning of the Earth chakra in a different video about the chakras. Once you've done the chakra scan, make sure you get a notepad and you write down what your chakras are doing. It's important that you log this information so you can see how your healing process is going from week to week, month to month. Now there's a few other tricks you can use the pendulum for. You can use the pendulum to find some lost objects. Let's say, for example, you've misplaced your car keys somewhere in your house. Use the pendulum and ask questions like, is it in the living room? Is it in the bedroom? Is it in the bathroom? Once you narrow down the room, you can then say, is it in this corner or is it in this corner? When you move to the corner of the room, you then start asking questions like, is it here? Is it here? Is it here? Bit of a game of playing hot cold. Now of course you've got to be pretty attuned to using a pendulum for this to work, and also some objects will be missing for a reason and you're not supposed to find it. Perhaps if you can't find your car keys, it's because if you had them in that moment you'd go for a drive and maybe you'd encounter an accident. Or maybe you can't find your mobile phone because you wanted to text your ex and maybe that's not a good decision. If you're emotionally attached to the object that you're trying to find, you're going to have a lot more trouble trying to find it. And lastly, have you ever seen this in your pendulum? A little knot in the chain? Perhaps it's been kicking around in your pocket or in your bag. This means you've got a message. Now this means you have to play detective. So you can start asking questions like, is this about my job? Is this about my family? Is this about my partner? And you'll have to start narrowing down with yes/no answers. And that, my friends, is Pendulum 101. If you found this helpful, hit the like button, subscribe, and comment something down below. And I'll be back with more metaphysical, witchy, and healing tips for you.